Promised what? He cut her off. Me, Olima. You weren't even a virgin when I met you. That place was wide and I entered freely. No obstruction at all. Don't stand here and act innocent. You probably opened your legs for every boy in that bush you live in. And you don't even know who the father is. Now you come here, hoping I marry a used refuse dump. Never. Once upon a time, in the small village of Ituru, there lived a young girl named Oma. But before Oma was born, there was her mother, Nlecha, a young girl with bright eyes and dreams as big as the sky. Nlecha was only 16 when she fell in love with a very handsome boy from the next village. His name was Obiajulu. He was so funny and his tongue dripped sweet words like honey. Words that could blow the mind of young girls away. He made Nlecha believe she meant the world to him and that he couldn't live without her. Nlecha trusted him. She believed his sweet words and gave him her heart. She thought that what they both shared was magical and real. But what she didn't know was that boys like Obiajulu had only sweet tongues and wicked hearts. As love blossomed between the two, one rainy evening under a mango tree, they got carried away by their emotions and Nlecha gave herself to Obiajulu. She believed it was love. She thought he would stand by her should anything happen. But when her belly began to swell and the whispers in the village grew louder, Obiajulu turned his face away. He denied her. He told everyone she was a liar, that the child was not his. Nlecha cried for many nights. Her mother was ashamed. Her friends laughed behind her back. She carried her shame like a heavy basket on her head until she gave birth to a baby girl, Oma. But instead of love, Oma was met with pain. From the very first day she opened her eyes, her mother's eyes were filled with bitterness. Bitterness not just for the man who let her suffer, but for the baby he left behind. Nlecha saw Obiajulu's face in Oma's, and every time she looked at her daughter, it felt like salt being rubbed into her wounds. Why did I even give birth to you? Nlecha would scream. Because of you, my life ended even before it started. Why didn't you just die? She called Oma all sorts of names. From when she was little, useless, bad luck, mistake. There was nothing Nlecha didn't call Oma. Little Oma would sit in a corner, her small hands wrapped around her knees, tears running down her cheeks. She didn't understand why her mother hated her so much. She didn't even ask to be born. She didn't choose her father. All she wanted was a mother's love. But Nlecha's heart had turned to stone. In the village, other children played in the sun, their mothers calling them home with laughter and plates of warm food. But not Oma. First of all, she never enjoyed life as a kid because from a very tender age, Nlecha would drag her to the farm whenever she was going to work and force her to do something. You see those two hands? Those are your two hands that look like that of an ant. She must use it to work. And it took Nlecha nothing to starve Oma at the slightest mistake. Oma would work under the sun, under the rain, even when some of the workers in the farm would try to explain to Nlecha that she was just a little girl. Nlecha would snap at them like a vicious snake. She's a child, but she knows how to eat, Abi. Please and please, I do not like this Toko. She's my daughter and I can raise her however I choose. Oma's days were filled with suffering. Her clothes were always torn and she was like a stranger in her own home. With the way Nlecha treated her, you would never believe she was her biological mother. When things went wrong, even if it was something that Oma didn't know about, or even had the power to control, like when the firewood didn't catch fire, when the roof leaked, when the rain beat into the house. It was always Oma's fault. "You are a curse, an evil burden I carry every day of my life," Nlecha would scream as she flogged her mercilessly. Oma grew up knowing pain, even before she knew joy. But with all the hatred thrown at her, she did not hate back. Her heart was so pure, and she would look at her mother with sad eyes and still do everything she was asked to do. Inside her heart, she whispered silent prayers. Maybe one day, Mama will love me. But that day never came. By the time Oma turned 10, her mother Nlecha decided to get married. She was tired of suffering, tired of carrying life alone and carrying the burden of raising Oma alone. She got married to Okonkwo, a strong, broad-shouldered farmer, whom Nlecha often worked for on his farm. His first wife had died a few years ago without giving him a child. People said he was a good farmer, but no one could say much about his heart. Okonkwo wasn't a very wealthy man, but he had lands, barns, goats, and a compound big enough for a family. For Nlecha, that was enough. She saw marriage to Okonkwo as a way out of her struggles. Maybe, just maybe, life would finally be easier for her. And truly, for Nlecha, it was. But for Oma, it was the beginning of a new nightmare. Okonkwo didn't hide how much he hated children that weren't his. From the very first day, he looked at Oma with so much hatred in his eyes, like she was a mistake, a thorn that came with the rose he married. Nlecha, now with a man to feed her, stopped lifting a finger. She handed every chore, every single one, to her daughter, both the ones she was old enough to do and the ones she wasn't. Oma swept the house, fetched firewood, washed clothes, cleaned the compound, carried heavy pots of water on her tiny head. And still, it was never enough. Nlecha would still scream and beat stars out of her eyes every single time. And then came more children. Oma had thought that when she gets new siblings, it may soften her mother's heart and that things would get better. But instead of Oma finally getting help or being seen as the big sister, her suffering only grew worse. She became their maid, their cook, their nurse, their cleaner. Yet, nobody ever treated her like a sister or daughter. Day after day, she worked like an animal. Even at most midnight, she would still be outside, either scrubbing pots or doing one stupid chore that Nlecha couldn't leave till morning. In all, she rarely had a rest break. Nlecha was determined to work her to death. Sometimes, the villagers would find Oma asleep at the riverbank, her small body curled like a leaf, a broken calabash beside her. Other times, they would find her dozing off under a tree in the forest, the firewood still tied in a bundle next to her. Their hearts broke, but what could they do? Some brave women tried to talk to Nlecha. "Why are you treating that poor girl like a slave?" they would ask. "She is your own child, for God's sake." But Nlecha's heart had become cold as stone. "Leave me and my family," she would snap. "I know how to train my child. Oma is lazy, very lazy. That girl has sleeping sickness, always pretending, so she won't work." But the villagers were no fools. They saw her work endlessly without rest. They heard Oma's cries. They watched her limp through the market with bruises on her back. And yet, no one dared interfere. Nlecha wasn't ready to listen to anyone. Whenever someone tried to defend Oma, that night became a night of terror. Nlecha would take out cane, soak it in water, rub it with fresh red pepper, and flog her daughter like a thief. "You evil witch," she would scream. "Very ungrateful thing. Look how you make me look like a monster before the villagers. I know you've been sent to destroy my life, but hear me, I will kill you before you get a chance to kill me. Mama, please, I'm sorry, Oma would cry, rolling on the floor, her small body shaking. But Nlecha's eyes were filled with rage, not mercy. She beat her until her own hands ached. And the others, the neighbors, the villagers, they only watched from their windows, from the corners of their hearts. They were tired of speaking, tired of begging Nlecha to show kindness to Oma. Instead, they whispered amongst themselves, shaking their heads. What kind of a mother is this? How can a woman hate her own child like this? But still, no one could stop her. And Oma, she endured it all. With blood-stained wrappers and tear-soaked cheeks, she still got up the next day to fetch water, to sweep, and to serve like the maid she had become. And through it all, she smiled. Not because she was happy, but because smiling was the only thing that reminded her she was still alive. When Oma clocked 13, life had already taught her more pain than peace. Yet, somehow, through all the bruises and bitter tears, she began to blossom into a stunning young girl. Her skin glowed like fresh palm oil under the sun. Her eyes held a softness that made strangers pause, and her smile, though rare, could melt even the hardest hearts. Despite her suffering, there was something radiant about her. The boys in the village noticed. They would steal glances at her during market days, follow her at a distance when she went to fetch water, and whisper to one another about how beautiful she had become. But someone else had started noticing her too. Someone who was never meant to see her that way. Okonkwo, her mother's husband. It started with his stairs. He would sit under the tree near the kitchen, pretending to be resting after working on the farm. But his eyes were always fixed on Oma, watching her tiny waist sway as she walked, or staring at the gentle curve of her back as she bent over to sweep the compound. Sometimes he would lick his lips slowly, like a snake testing the air. But Oma didn't notice. How could she? She was innocent, too innocent. To her, Okonkwo was her stepfather, the man she called Papa, even though he barely acknowledged her unless it was to back orders or throw insults. But everything changed on a rainy night. The sky had opened up, and rain had been pouring down heavily. Everyone had gone to bed, the thunder still grumbling far away. Oma had just finished dragging the last piece of firewood inside so it wouldn't get soaked. Her wrapper was damp, her body cold. She ran inside, wiped her arms and changed her clothes. Then, she lay down on her mat hoping to catch some rest. She had barely slept off when her door creaked open. She quickly sat up, her heart jumping in her throat. It was Okonkwo. He stepped into the room slowly, the flickering lantern casting strange shadows on his face. His expression wasn't the usual anger or irritation she was used to. This time, he looked strange. His eyes weren't sharp with hate. They were soft, but not kind. They were the eyes of a wolf stalking its prey. Oma stood to her feet, startled. "Papa, is something wrong?" she asked, her voice trembling. He didn't answer. Instead, he walked towards her, his eyes scanning her small frame from head to toe. She stepped back in confusion, bumping into the wall. Then his hands were on her, rough, exploring, greedy as he touched her. "If you scream, I will kill you," he whispered coldly. "You've been living in my house, eating my food. Your useless father never ever brought a dime. Where is he? A laborer is worthy of his reward, right?" He laughed. "I didn't even invent the saying, you know. Tonight, I am taking what is mine." "Please, Papa," Oma sobbed, tears filling her eyes. "Please." "Me? Your papa," he hissed. "I'm not your father. never call me that." Before she could scream, his hands clapped over her mouth, and in a swift, brutal movement, he shoved her to the floor and stole the last piece of her innocence. Her body shook violently. Silent tears slid down her cheeks and soaked the mat beneath her. The pain cut deep, but the betrayal was even deeper. When he was done, he pulled out a small knife from his wrapper and pointed it at her chest. "If you tell anyone what happened, I will cut you into tiny pieces. Do you hear me?" Oma didn't respond. She couldn't. Her lips were trembling. Her voice was gone. And then, like a shadow, he disappeared into the night. Oma lay there, her body broken, her soul numb. She didn't sleep a wink. She cried until her mat was soaked, until her voice could carry no more. Her eyes were swollen, her limbs sore, her spirit crushed. But she knew what happened was evil. She had to tell someone. Even though he had threatened to kill her, she was not scared of dying. Her life was already more miserable than death itself. So when morning came and Okonkwo had gone to the farm, Oma gathered the last courage in her soul and walked to her mother. "Mama," she began, her voice shaking, "I have something to tell you. Last night, Papa came into my room." Nlecha, who had been slicing vegetables on a wooden board, stood up sharply, her eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" Oma tried to speak again. Her lips trembled. He touched me, Mama. He forced himself on me." For a moment, silence filled the air. Then, like thunder, Nlecha's voice exploded. "You want to destroy my marriage, Okwaya? You want to destroy my marriage, Oma? How dare you accuse my husband of such a thing?" But, Mama, a hot slap landed on Oma's left cheek. Her head swung sideways. But before she could even recover, another came from the other direction. "Witch! Useless child! So, this is what the witches from your father's coven sent you to do, eh? To scatter my home. This small peace I am enjoying here. You want to pour sand into my garri. You are very wicked. Very ungrateful thing." "Mama, please, I didn't." "Shut up your dirty mouth," Nlecha roared. "Tell me," she shouted, grabbing her by the neck. "How many people have you told this nonsense story to?" Oma, shaking both from pain and fear, whispered, Just you, Mama, only you." Nlecha hissed and stepped back, her chest rising and falling, like someone ready for battle. "It's better just be me. Because if I hear this outside, I will strangle you to death with my bare hands. Do you hear me? I will kill you myself. Worthless thing, just like her father." She turned her back and walked away, leaving Oma standing there, broken beyond words. Oma didn't know what hurt more, the memory of last night or the pain of being silenced by the only person who was supposed to protect her. She thought of running away, but where would she go? Her grandmother, the only person who might have taken her in, had died shortly after she was born. There was no one, no family, no place to call safe. So she went back to her chores, with pain between her legs and fire in her chest. She picked up her broom and swept the compound like nothing ever happened. It seemed Nlecha confronted Okonkwo because after that, he became even more mean and her life became even more miserable. He would scream at her for no reason, rain curses on her at the slightest opportunity. But in all, Oma held on, enduring through her pains, hoping that life would get better one day. Despite all she was going through, she was always happy and finding joy in little things. Years rolled by like waves against the shore, and Oma grew into a young woman whose beauty could silence even the wind. She was hardworking too, known by all in the village for her quiet strength and kindness. Even after all she had endured, she still loved and cared for everyone that crossed her path, and the villagers admired her strength. One day, she was returning from the market, balancing a basket of vegetables on her head, when a shiny black car came to a slow stop beside her. The tinted window rolled down, and a handsome young man leaned out. "Hello," he said with a smile that could melt the stone. "Why is a beautiful angel like you walking under the sun?" Omar turned and gave him a brief glance. He was striking, rich-looking, with skin as smooth as palm wine, and a voice like sweet music. But she quickly looked away and continued working. She had heard stories about city boys and their sweet, empty words. She wasn't ready to be another village girl with a broken heart. But the young man wasn't going anywhere. He drove slowly, following her as he spoke. "I am not here to play around with you," he said again. "You're everything I want in a woman. I like you a lot." But Omar didn't even turn or bother to stop him. "The village is still far. I don't bite, I promise. Even if you don't like me, just hop in and let me give you a ride. My name is Jide," he added. "I am Omali's son." Omar froze. Omali. That name rang bells in her heart. She turned sharply to face him, her eyes wide with surprise and joy. Omali was the kindest woman she had ever met, gentle and warm. Omar had worked for her before when she was sick, helping around the house when she needed extra hands. Omali had always told her, "I have a son in the city. I will be happy if he marries you one day." But she didn't know her son was this handsome. With a small smile creeping up her lips, Omar walked towards the car. "I'm sorry," she apologized. "I didn't know who you are. I'm just trying to be careful." He smiled back at her warmly. "It's fine. Just hop in." Before they reached the village, she had laughed more than she had in 5 years. Jide was charming, funny, and spoke with a calm confidence that made her feel safe. He had this way of looking at her, like she mattered, like she was someone worth loving. Before they parted ways, he gently held her hand. "I would love to see your beautiful face again," he said. "Can you come by the house tomorrow? Please, don't say no." And just like that, a little romance began to bloom in the quiet corners of the village. Every night, after her chores and when the house had gone quiet, Omar would sneak out under the cover of darkness. She would tiptoe past her mother's window, holding her slippers in her hands, and run barefoot to Jide's compound. There, under the big mango tree, they would sit close, laughing, whispering, telling stories. Sometimes Jide would sing to her, his voice low and soft, making her blush like a schoolgirl. Other nights, he would rest his hand on her back gently, brushing his thumb over her shoulder. "I want to take you to the city," he said one night, looking into her eyes. "I will give you a better life, buy you fine clothes, and protect you with my strong arms." And Omar believed him. How could she not? Jide made her feel like the most special woman in the world. For the first time in her life, she felt chosen. She felt adored. She felt loved in a very special way. One night, the stars were brighter than usual, as if the heavens themselves were watching. The moon bathed the earth in soft silver light, and the wind carried the scent of ripe guavas. They sat together on a mat Jide had spread under the tree, and he pulled her gently into his arms. "Do you know how beautiful you are?" he whispered into her ear. "You don't belong here. You are a rare jewel. I thank the gods that I found you." Omar blushed, her heart racing. "No one has ever said that to me before." They are all blind, he replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I want to be the man that gives you everything you never had. Feel how my heart beats for you. He held her tighter, pressing her to his chest, letting her feel the steady rhythm of his heart. Omar closed her eyes, lost in his warmth, his scent, his words. When he leaned in to kiss her, she didn't pull away. She kissed him back, slowly, nervously, then deeper. The world around them faded. There were no cruel mothers, no broken past, no haunted nights, just them. Two souls in a quiet village, under the stars, making a memory they would never forget. One moment led to another, and there, beneath the open sky, surrounded by the sounds of crickets and soft rustling of leaves, they sealed their love. Omar gave herself to him that night, not because she was foolish, but because for once she felt truly loved, and she was willing to give everything. But love, like the wind, can change direction without warning. The next morning, Jide was gone. No word, no message, no sign. For days, Omar cried herself to sleep. She couldn't believe that after all they had shared, Jide just left like that without even a goodbye. She tried to convince herself that maybe he was just busy, or maybe something had come up. Maybe he would soon return. But weeks later, Omar found out that she was pregnant. Tears filled her eyes as she stood by the stream clutching her belly like it could give her strength. How would she face her mother? How would she explain what she herself could barely understand? She walked home slowly, dreading every step. But she didn't have to say anything. The moment Nlecha laid eyes on her daughter's swollen face and feet, her voice pierced the air like a sharp blade. Chimo! Oma, tell me. It is not true, she shouted, her eyes wild. Are my eyes deceiving me? Hey! I said it. You are a promiscuous child. I knew your life would end in shame. I didn't need any prophet to tell me that. And you proved me right. Annual fear, she screamed at the top of her voice. Oma stood trembling. Mama, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you've gone to open your legs for all the pig in this village. Eh? Nlecha screamed. You've always been cursed. You were born cursed, just like your father. Tears rolled down Omar's cheeks. No, Mama. It's Jide, she said softly. Omali's son. He promised to marry me. Nlecha laughed, loud and bitter. Lekwagi, look at you. You mean that fine bobo from the city? Wonders shall never end. Nlecha clapped her hands mockingly. So, you think a boy like that would marry a low-life like you? A dirty village thing like you? You finally disgraced me. You've brought shame upon this household. Mama, please don't say that. Shut up. Nlecha yelled, grabbing the broom from the corner. You will get out of my house. Go and look for that man that planted that bastard in you. You will not give birth to another cursed child in my house. You are no longer my daughter. Oma dropped to her knees, sobbing. Mama, please, where do you want me to go? I have no one. Please don't send me away like this. But Nlecha had no pity in her heart. Get out, you prostitutes, before I call the entire village to come and see what a disgrace I've been raising in my house. Tears flowed down Oma's cheeks as she picked up the little belongings she had. Her body shook as she walked away. She didn't look back. She knew no one would be watching from the door. Slowly, she made her way to Omali's compound. Her heart was beating fast, her feet sore, her entire body aching. She didn't know what to expect or how she would even tell Omali what had happened. When Omali opened the door and saw her, Her eyes widened in surprise. Oma, my dear, what is it? She asked, pulling her inside quickly. Oma broke down in her arms. Mama, I'm sorry, but I don't know where else to go. I'm pregnant for Jide. Omali was silent for a moment. Then slowly, she helped Oma to sit. She touched her face gently, wiping away her tears. Jide, my son, you mean? She asked quietly. Yes, Oma whispered. My mother threw me out. She says I am no longer her daughter. Omali took a deep breath and hugged her. You're welcome here, Oma. Don't cry, you're not alone. Omali's words brought peace and warmth into Oma's heart. A few days later, Omali made a decision. They would both go to the city and find Jide. He had to take responsibility. The journey was long and rough. Oma had never left the village before. The city was loud, fast, full of strange buildings and unfamiliar faces. But she held Omali's hand tightly, afraid of what was to come. When they arrived at Jide's apartment, a tall, sleek woman in short clothes opened the door, her face twisted in annoyance. Who are you people? She asked. I am his mother, Omali said firmly. Tell him I am here. Minutes later, Jide stepped into the living room, dressed in city clothes, holding a phone and wearing dark glasses. When he saw Oma, he froze. What's she doing here? He asked sharply. The result of the match you played is out. She is carrying your child, Jide, Omali replied. She was not even smiling. And you have to take responsibility. Jide laughed, shaking his head in disbelief. What kind of movie is this, Mama? You can't be serious. Oh, I am serious, Omali insisted. Jide turned to Oma, his eyes cold. Tell me, who got you pregnant? Oma was shocked beyond words. Was this the same man who had professed his love to her weeks ago? How many boys have you been sleeping with? He thundered, his face turning dark. Oh, you think I don't know village girls like you? You are all the same, cheap, dirty, and a great opportunist. You want to pin this bastard child, this bastard thing in your womb, on me. This wouldn't work. You must find the father of your child. Oma's mouth fell open. Jide, what are you saying? You promised me. You are the only man. Promised what? He cut her off. Me, only man. You weren't even a virgin when I met you. That place was wide and I entered freely. No obstruction at all. Don't stand here and act innocent. You probably opened your legs for every boy in that bush you live in. And you don't even know who the father is. Now you come here, hoping I marry a used refuse dump. Never. Oma's knees buckled. She leaned on the wall for support as tears flooded her eyes. The shame, the betrayal, the pain. It was just too much. But Omali stood between them like a lioness. Jide, I am ashamed of you, she shouted. When you were enjoying her, you didn't know she was a used refuse dump, Abi. I didn't raise you to treat women like animals. Oma is a very good girl and I know her. She is not promiscuous. You are the one that deceived her. Virgin or not, you will marry her. Do you hear me? You will marry her and take care of that child. You brought her home, used her, and now you want to turn your back on the poor girl. Never. Hello, not under my roof. Then, you marry her yourself, Jide hissed, and stormed out of the room, leaving Oma sobbing silently into her palms. And that was the moment Oma knew her suffering wasn't over yet. It had only just begun. The day Jide's mother returned to the village, she held Oma's hands tightly and whispered, Be patient, my child. Jide will come around. He just needs time to process all of this. Just make sure you behave very well and call me if you need anything. Oma smiled faintly, though her heart was already cracking. She wanted to believe Mama Omali. She wanted to hope that the man she had once laughed under the stars and given herself to with all the love in her heart would return. But what waited for her after Mama left was nothing like hope. It was hell. The very next morning, Jide came into the sitting room, saw Omali cleaning the floor and laughed loudly. So, this is how village housewives behave, he mocked, bending over like a tired goat. You don't even know how to dress. You walk around like a stray dog with a broken leg, smelling all over the place. I know girls like you, but whatever charm you have won't work on me. Your mates sleep around and take drugs to flush their system. But it got to your turn. As big as you are, you became pregnant. Shameless thing, he hissed as he strolled out. Oma kept quiet. She had learned that silence was safer. She was used to it, but she wasn't prepared for what was yet to come. Later that day, Jide walked in with a tall, light-skinned lady wearing heavy makeup and a wig that touched her waist. She had a body that made Oma feel invincible. They both sat on the couch while Oma stood by the door watching awkwardly. Local fowl, he called Oma. Meet my friend from the city, Jide said loudly, then turned to the lady with a grin. This is the smelly fowl I told you about. Just one night, and she shows up here with my mother, with a god-forsaken pregnancy. Poor girl. I can't believe anyone could be this shameless, forcing herself on a man, the lady said, as they both burst into laughter. Oma's heart broke as the woman stared at her from head to toe with disgust. Ew, she whispered. She smells like rotten ogiri. Jide smirked. That's because she lives in the bush. Smelly thing. Can you imagine? I can't believe I ever had a thing to do with this pig. It was my worst experience ever. Come on, look at you now. Clean, packaged, sexy with breast and hips intact. Not like this local overused fowl. Oma blinked back her tears, clutching the edge of her clothes. She wanted to scream. She wanted to disappear. She couldn't stand there and take the insults anymore. She quickly ran out of the living room and locked herself up in the little room she now owned. There, she curled up on the bed and cried her heart out. Why is my life filled with so much suffering, she cried. Why do I feel cursed? She could hear laughter ringing from the living room, and she shut her ears with her hands. Her heart was going to explode. Day after day, everything seemed to worsen. Jide would come home drunk with women. They would mess the whole house up and turn Oma into their maid, calling her all sorts of names as she served them. One day, Jide saw her crying. Why are you crying? He barked. I thought you wanted to marry a city husband. You've not even seen anything. I will show you peppered shege in blue lights. You better get rid of that nonsense and go back to the village. I have made it clear to you that I don't want you. In fact, get out of my sight. I don't want to see you here again. And indeed, Jide was showing her peppered shege with extra layers. There were days he would not give her a dime to cook. She would starve for days drinking garri because she couldn't even muster the courage to ask him for help. One day, she couldn't hold on anymore. She walked up to him and asked him for some money to go to the market and get little foodstuffs. But Jide burst into laughter. What market? As my wife or what? I can say you really have faith though, and that's because you are so stupid and dumb. You think I will feed this useless thing in your womb? You and that thing in your stomach can starve for all I care. If you don't like the way I treat you, find your way and get out of my house. Oma would drink water and cry herself to sleep. Her stomach would rumble while he dined like a king with his numerous girlfriends. The smell of jollof rice and fried turkey taunting her from the other room. And every time she cried, every time she reached for her phone to call Mama or Mali, she heard the same thing. Just give him time, my child. He will come around. Men are like that at first. Just be patient and take your eyes away from everything he's doing. Oh, he will come to his senses. But Jide wasn't changing. He was getting worse, and her tummy was shooting out daily. One day, they had a visitor. It was a humid afternoon when Alfred arrived. He stepped out of a black SUV, tall, well-dressed and smelling of expensive cologne. His presence filled the compound with an air of class and ease. He was Jide's old friend from their university days, freshly returned from the United States to start a new business in Lagos. "Guy," Jide called out as they hopped. "Look at you, fresh boy, money man." "You too," Alfred laughed. "Your face has added weight, Jide." As they entered the house laughing, Alfred paused at the sight of a pregnant lady quietly sweeping the living room. Her clothes were old, her hair tied in a rough bun, but even in her simplicity, she had a beauty that made him stare. He leaned closer to Jide and whispered, "Guy, you didn't tell me you got married." Jide laughed sharply as he poured them both drinks. "Married? God forbid. I beg, come to the bar, let's sit and catch up." "Hey you," he screamed at Oma. "Take these things inside." Alfred followed him quietly. When they were settled, he raised a brow and continued, "You say she's not your wife, but she's pregnant and she's in your house." "That's one," Jide scoffed, swirling the drink in his glass. "She's not my wife, I beg. Just one random pig I played with when I visited my mother in the village. The next thing, she shows up here with a swollen belly, claiming that I am the father." Alfred blinked in disbelief. "But she's beautiful and she looks calm." "I think the deed has been done, bro. Maybe you should just marry her." Jide slammed his glass down and leaned forward. "Over my dead body. That pig. Have you even perceived her body odor? She stinks like gutter. And please, she's not even my type. I like clean city babes, not these bush girls." Alfred stared at him in disbelief. "But she was your type when you were enjoying her in the village." When did you become a pastor?" Jide snapped. "Am I the first guy to play around in the village? It's what guys do when they travel home. She couldn't clean herself up. How is that my fault?" He leaned back and exhaled bitterly. "I've told my mother. I don't want her. If she dies in this house, it's not my business. She's not my responsibility and can never be." Alfred's face fell. "Jide, you're wicked though. Have you ever put yourself in that girl's shoes? What if she was your sister? Do you know what it means to raise a child alone?" He lowered his voice, filled with emotion. "My mother was a single parent. She suffered, bro. She went through hell to raise me and my siblings. No woman should be treated this way. You have the money. You have the space. Why not just do the right thing?" Jide's eyes darkened with fury. "That's enough," he thundered. "We're supposed to be catching up and partying, not talking about some wayward local fowl. That girl isn't even innocent. I didn't meet her as a virgin, which means she's been sleeping around. I don't even think that child is mine." Alfred opened his mouth to speak but stopped. What was the point? He had never seen this side of Jide before. The cruelty, the pride, the absolute disregard for another human being. For the rest of the night, he just drank, and the drinks tasted bitter in his mouth. Over the next few days, Alfred watched silently. He saw how Oma cleaned every corner of the house while holding her swollen belly, how she served food to the different women Jide brought home, women who laughed at her, called her names, and even stepped on her. "This girl again," one of them said one morning. "Why is she still here? If I were her, I would have run away in shame. She's obviously shameless." Oma stood silently, her head bowed. She had heard worse. One night, Jide and his guest sat outside drinking and blasting music. Oma was inside washing plates in the dark. Alfred walked past the kitchen and paused when he saw her kneeling beside a bucket, tears falling silently down her face. He couldn't take it anymore. Later that night, he knocked gently on the door frame. "Oma," he called. She opened the door, startled. "Good evening, sir. Please, just call me Alfred. Can I come in?" She nodded, unsure. He stepped in, his voice soft, as he settled down beside her on her bed. "Don't you think it's better to leave? It's clear that he doesn't want you, and you don't deserve this. Why are you here suffering like this?" Oma looked at him, her eyes wide and wet. "I have nowhere else to go," she said, her voice breaking. "My mother hates me so much, and she would even make life worse for me. When she found out I was pregnant, she threw me out. I came here, hoping Jide would love me. He promised me a happy life. All my life, I have only known pain. Jide is the first person who has ever loved me." She paused, her lips trembling. "But now, everything is changed. I'm just hoping, maybe one day, like Mama always says, he will change. Maybe he will remember the girl he laughed with under the stars, and the love we both shared." Alfred swallowed hard. Her voice was full of pain, but also full of innocence, of a broken hope that refused to die. He gently reached into his pocket and brought out a small card. "This is my number," he said. "Call me if you ever need anything. Food, money, someone to talk to. I don't know how much I can do, but I'm really sorry for what you are going through, and don't wish it upon anyone." She took the card slowly, nodding, a tear dropping onto it. The next morning, Alfred packed his things and left the house. He couldn't stay. Not while a woman was being treated like she was less than human. He would check into a short-let apartment while waiting for his own house to be completed. But he left with one burning thought in his mind. What kind of man becomes a monster to a woman he once claimed to love? Oma didn't call Alfred. She never felt it was wise to call him, as she didn't want to cause trouble between him and Jide since they were friends. So she continued enduring in silence. But it was getting worse. Nothing she ever did was good, and the worst part of it was the starvation. One day, unable to bear the hunger anymore, she confronted Jide, who insulted her and gave her little money and a tree. "This is what village people like you do," he said to her. "Go and buy oranges, hawk them around Lagos, and make money to feed you and your bastard child. And I hope you die while giving birth to that thing." With tears and heavy pain in her heart, Oma, with a heavy pregnancy, started hawking oranges in the streets of Lagos. Lagos heat was not kind, and the sun especially was cruel. But Oma managed through it. It was better than having nothing and staying hungry. She would move from one car to the other, sweating, her body aching, her feet blistered, as she begged them to buy from her. "I just need enough money to eat tonight. Just something small for me and my baby," she would plead. Then one day, as she walked through the traffic, she heard her name. Oma. She turned sharply. Standing by a parked black SUV, dressed in jeans and white shirts, was Alfred, his eyes wide with shock. He hurried towards her, staring in disbelief. "What are you doing?" he asked, breathless. "You're hawking oranges? Like this? In this condition? Why?" Tears spilled from Oma's eyes as her mouth trembled. "Jide, he told me to hawk so I can eat. He refused to give me feeding money." Alfred stood still for a moment, then his fist clenched. He had never felt this angry in his entire life. "Get in the car," he said softly but firmly. Oma hesitated. "Please, I don't want trouble. I said get into the car, Oma," he repeated. When they got to Jide's house, Alfred didn't knock. He burst through the door like a storm. Jide was on the couch laughing, with two women in shorts holding a glass of red wine. "Jide!" Alfred roared, and before anyone could blink, he lunged. The punch landed hard on Jide's jaw. The glass shattered, the women screamed. Another punch, this time in the stomach, then the chest. Jide scrambled, trying to fight back, but Alfred's fury was wild and righteous. Finally, Jide shoved him hard, sending him stumbling back into a chair. "What the hell is wrong with you, man?" Jide shouted, blood dripping from his mouth. "You are wicked, Jide," Alfred bellowed. "You're a bastard. How could you? A pregnant woman hawking oranges on the streets of Lagos just to eat. Is this the kind of man you've become?" Jide wiped his mouth and scoffed. "So, it's about a woman now, eh? A dirty village cow at that. Then clean her up," Alfred shouted back. "If she's dirty and smells as you say, then clean her up. You have the money, Jide. Where is your conscience? Some of these girls you carry around your want like her. You think you're better because you wear perfume and drink champagne, eh? Where is your heart?" Jide laughed, dry and sharp. "I can see you love her so much. Fine. You're not married, Alfred. Take her. Clean her up. Marry her. Take her and that bastard she's carrying, since you want to play Mr. Nice Guy." Alfred's heart pounded in his chest. He stared at Jide long and hard, the disgust growing in his eyes. "You're a monster," he said. "I can't believe we are friends." He turned and stared at Oma, who had been standing quietly in the doorway, her face soaked in tears. "You know what? I will take her," Alfred said, "as you suggested, and I will do right by her. But mark my words, Jide, you will regret this. One day, you will look for her, and she will be far beyond your reach." Jide waved his hands dismissively. "Get out, fool. Take her, and make sure you carry all her rags. At least, I will have a clean house. I can finally breathe fresh air." Alfred was silent. With slow, steady steps, he walked into the small room where Oma's things were scattered. He packed them gently, wrapper by wrapper, folded them with quiet respect, then carried them out. Oma followed from behind, holding her swollen belly, her legs weak, but her heart burning. She didn't know where they were going, but anywhere was better than here. Alfred was staying in a short-let apartment. "This is my temporal home," he announced when they got there. "My house is still getting set up. This apartment has 2 rooms. You can make yourself comfortable here. Don't think or worry about anything. I am here, right by your side." Tears rolled down Oma's cheeks as she stared at Alfred in disbelief. He had fought for her and had only said kind, soothing words to her, unlike anyone she had ever met. "Thank you so much," she said. "I don't know how to repay you for your kindness." Alfred held her, patting her back. "It's okay. You've been through a lot and I don't want you to cry anymore." The days that followed, Alfred took her shopping, got her a new set of clothes. She even made her hair and transformed into a beautiful pregnant woman. Then, he took her to one of the best hospitals and registered her for antenatal. She was 7 months gone and had never been to a hospital before, but she and her baby were fine. Alfred was everything she never had: a father, a brother, and a friend. He listened to her and cared for her like no one had ever done before, and Oma became so happy. Alfred never allowed her to lift a finger in the house. "You are carrying a baby," he would say to her. "That is enough work already." But Oma would insist on watching him as he cooked. They would laugh and joke, and he loved how happy she had become. But he hoped that Jide would soon come to his senses. But Jide never showed any remorse or even came to apologize. There was never anything like that. He totally refused to come to his senses. A few months later, Oma gave birth to a bouncing baby boy. Alfred was right by her side as they held the bundle of joy in their arms. Tears rolled down Oma's eyes and Alfred saw it. "Don't worry about raising him alone. I will always be by your side," he said to her, and Oma nodded with a smile. The few months she had stayed with Alfred had bonded them together in the most special way. Alfred was very kind and caring too, the kind of man that you didn't need to say a word before he understood, and a man who brightened her day with so much joy and laughter. And as for Alfred, it baffled him how his friend Jide rejected a wonderful woman like Oma. She was beautiful in and out, loving and well-mannered. There was no doubt that they had both fallen in love with each other. He had finally moved into his own house and he brought in Oma and her son to stay with him. They both named him Obiajulo, and Alfred treated him like his own child, always carrying him at night so that Oma could sleep, or help change his diapers while Oma cooked. In fact, he was a blessing to Oma. 1 year later, he proposed to Oma. It was on a special raining evening, over dinner. "I feel this couple thing suits the both of us," Alfred began. "I've never been more happy in my entire life, and I feel that fate brought us together. Since you came into my life, things have only gotten better. You've brought so much luck into my life, and I don't want to lose you to anyone. Please marry me." Tears flowed down Oma's cheeks as she said yes. She had no single doubt in her heart that this was the man she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. Months later, they got married. That day, it seemed like Alfred was the happiest man in the whole world. Marrying Oma was the best decision he ever made. The news of his marriage to Oma came to everyone as a rude shock, especially her mother, who always thought nothing good would ever come out of Oma. As she witnessed the ceremony, tears rolled down her cheeks. She had been such a terrible mother and blamed an innocent child for her own mistakes. She had put the girl through a lot, but look how the gods had blessed her with a good man who not only loves her and her son as his, but adores Oma with every fiber in him. Everyone could see how much he cared for her from the way he looked at her. Plus, he was very wealthy too. After the marriage, Oma moved back to the city with her husband, and they lived their lives happily, their days filled with love and laughter. Many years later, Oma and Alfred were at a mall shopping. They had just returned from a family vacation and were trying to pick out items for their home when someone tapped Alfred from behind. He turned, and lo and behold, it was Jide. Jide looked shocked as his eyes moved from Alfred to Oma. It's been 10 long years since he last set his eyes on them, and tears welled up in his eyes. He couldn't believe this was the same village pig he had abused and tortured, now looking all cleaned up, classy, and breathtakingly beautiful. He wished he had listened to Alfred many years ago. He went down on his knees immediately, as tears rolled down his cheeks. "Please, Oma, I have searched everywhere for you and Alfred. Everywhere. I am sorry for all the pains I caused you. It was so wicked and immature of me. Please, I beg you, find it in your heart to forgive me. Ever since you left, nothing has been working out for me. Everything just crumbled. I know I don't deserve mercy, but please," he pleaded, with all sincerity in him. Oma looked at Alfred, who gave her a go-ahead to speak. "Looking at you, I feel like strangling you, Jide, for all the pain you caused me," Oma began. "You wished me death, remember? And because of what? Well, it's been like 10 years, and that's too long to hold something against you. If anything, I owe you a very big thank you. Remember, I met my happiness through you. So, you are forgiven. As for your life crumbling, it's not my fault," she finished, her face blank. "No, please, Oma," Jide continued. "I heard you had a son for me. I've been married for 7 years now, without a child. Please, I need my son back. Tell me what you want me to do, anything, please. I don't want to die childless." "Your son?" Oma repeated. She couldn't believe her ears. Wow, life really had a way of humbling people. The same high and mighty Jide was now on his knees begging like a child caught stealing meat from a pot of soup. "Enough of this nonsense, Jide," Alfred barked angrily. "You have no son with Oma. Obiajulu is not your child. You said it yourself. From the moment you let me walk out of your house with that smelly village girl you treated like an animal years ago, you lost everything. I warned you. I told you you will regret it. Now, this is it. Just 10 years ago. I beg you to leave me and my wife out of your madness. And I hope the gods show you mercy, so that in your next life, you learn how to value people. You can't eat your cake and have it. By the way," he said, as his voice softened, "thank you for giving me this gorgeous woman that has brought so much joy into my life. There is a bucket over there. You can pick it up, because I know more tears are coming, and you really need it." With that, he held his wife and walked away, as Jide knelt there crying like a baby. He had lost something precious, and the more he thought about it, the more he regretted his past. Worse still was that he had explored all the available options just to have a child, but nothing had worked. Everything just had a way to fail. Maybe this was the heavens punishing him for his sins. He knew he greatly wronged Oma. As for Nleche, Oma's mother, Oma forgave her for her own sake. She needed to be free, but she never brought her into her life. Nleche had apologized endlessly, but she just wasn't ready. Maybe she would someday, but for now, she would rather enjoy her marriage and just be happy without being haunted by the pains from her past.